It started with a bang. It started with fighter jets, thumping bass music, and checks so large they didn't just change tax brackets. They changed the moral compass of the entire sport. In 2022, they promised a revolution. They told us that the old way was dead, that 72 holes of stroke play was a dinosaur, and that the future of golf belonged to teams, franchises, and golf but louder. They bought the biggest names on the planet to prove it. But as the sun rose on January 6, 2026, the music stopped. The locker of the league's most dominant, most feared, and most critical superstar sat empty. The reports confirmed what the whispers had been suggesting for months. Brooks Koepka has left LIV Golf. He didn't just leave, he walked away from a guaranteed contract with 1 year left on the table. He walked away from the franchise he was supposed to build. And most importantly, he walked away from the Saudi backers who believed they had bought his loyalty for life. The official reason? Family. But in the high-stakes world of billion-dollar sports contracts, we know that family is just a polite placeholder for a deal that has collapsed from the inside out. This isn't just a player changing tours. This is a $100 million regret that has just exposed the fatal flaw in the most expensive experiment in sports history. To truly understand the magnitude of this exit, you have to go back to the moment the ink dried 4 years ago, when the Public Investment Fund wrote checks for hundreds of millions of dollars to sign the Big Three, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, and Brooks Koepka. They weren't just buying golfers, they were buying credibility. Koepka was the most critical piece of that puzzle. Unlike the others, he was in the absolute prime of his career, a stone-cold killer in major championships. When he won the PGA Championship in 2023 wearing a LIV logo, it was the moment the league finally felt real. It proved that you could take the money and still dominate history. For a while, it seemed like the perfect heist. The players got the cash, the league got the glory, and the critics were silenced. But behind the scenes, the lighter schedule they were promised was morphing into a global grind, and the novelty of 54 holes was starting to wear thin for a guy obsessed with legacy. But you have to remember where Brooks was mentally in 2022. He was broken. His knee was shattered, his hip was failing, and he was terrified that his prime was already behind him. LIV Golf didn't just offer him money, they offered him insurance. They offered him a golden parachute in case he never won again. It was a deal made out of fear, disguised as rebellion. The Saudis paid for a gladiator, but what they didn't realize was that a gladiator without an arena eventually gets bored. They put the ultimate competitor in a league with no cuts, guaranteed paydays, and a team format that felt more like a corporate retreat than a professional sport. For a while, the money was enough to keep the silence. But you cannot buy the heart of a competitor, and you certainly cannot buy their patience. One of the core pillars of the LIV model was the franchise. The idea was that players wouldn't just be athletes. They would be equity holders, captains, and business owners. Koepka was given the keys to Smash GC. It was supposed to be his legacy, a brand he could build and sell for billions one day. But there was a problem. Brooks Koepka doesn't want to be a manager. He doesn't want to be a babysitter. He wants to show up, destroy the field, and go home. The cracks in this model appeared as early as 2023 with the Matthew Wolff saga. You remember this. Matthew Wolff, a young, talented, but troubled player, was on Koepka's team. When Wolff struggled, Koepka didn't nurture him like a captain. He publicly eviscerated him. He told the media he had given up on his own player. It was a PR disaster for the league, but it was a moment of absolute clarity for us. It showed that Koepka had zero interest in the team aspect of LIV Golf. He viewed his teammates not as brothers in arms, but as baggage. While the league was trying to sell us on the camaraderie of the Smash Brotherhood, Koepka was rolling his eyes and looking at his watch. He realized that being a captain meant doing work he hated, for a league that needed him way more than he needed it. The irony of Koepka's time at LIV is that he was the only one who actually did what they paid him to do. He won a major. When he lifted the Wanamaker Trophy at the 2023 PGA Championship at Oak Hill, it was the high watermark for the breakaway league. Greg Norman and the executives popped champagne. They finally had proof that their players could still dominate. But for Koepka, that victory likely had the opposite effect. Standing on that 18th green, hearing the roar of a real crowd, feeling the crushing weight of real history, it must have highlighted just how hollow the rest of his schedule had become. He realized that he could still beat the best in the world. So why was he spending 48 weeks a year playing 54-hole exhibitions in front of sparse crowds? That win didn't cement his loyalty to LIV. It reminded him of his true addiction. He didn't want to be the king of LIV. He wanted to be the king of golf. And you can't be the king of golf playing on the CW network while the rest of the world is watching the PGA Tour. That trophy was the beginning of the end. It gave him the confidence to realize he didn't need the safety net anymore. Fast forward to the morning of December 23rd, 2025. The press release was short, sterile, and legally scrubbed. Koepka is leaving to spend more time with family. Let's decode that. In the world of sports business, when a player walks away from tens of millions of dollars in guaranteed future earnings, it's not just because they want to drive the kids to school. It's because the friction became unbearable. We have to ask what happened behind closed doors. Did he have to pay a penalty? Is there a clawback clause where he has to return a portion of his signing bonus? The details are locked in NDAs, but the action speaks volumes. Koepka is essentially buying his own freedom. He is paying for the right to be relevant again. He looked at the 2026 schedule, the global travel, the team obligations, the lack of world ranking points, and decided that no amount of money was worth another year of it. He has made his millions, yes. He has secured his family's future for generations. But by leaving now, he is making a statement that legacy still has a price tag, and LIV Golf simply couldn't afford it anymore. If Koepka's exit is a disaster for the league's image, what Bryson DeChambeau is doing right now is a threat to its very survival. With Brooks gone, look at the roster. Dustin Johnson is aging and largely silent. Cameron Smith is happy but quiet. Phil Mickelson is a non-factor competitively. That leaves Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson is the content king. He is the YouTube sensation. He is the US Open champion who connects with the younger generation, and he knows exactly what just happened. He knows that without him, the league has no star power left under the age of 40. Reports are already surfacing that Bryson's camp is squeezing the public investment fund for a contract extension that is frankly obscene. He has all the leverage. He has publicly stated, "I could just do YouTube and be fine." That is a threat. He is telling the Saudis, "I don't need you, but you desperately need me." He is about to extract a ransom payment to stay, and the league will have no choice but to pay it. The exodus of Koepka has just doubled the price of every other star on the roster. This leads us to the grim financial reality of the entire operation. The public investment fund has poured an estimated $3 billion to $5 billion into this league. The business model relied on one assumption, that they would build teams that fans would fall in love with, like the Yankees or the Lakers. They thought they could sell Smash GC merchandise and franchises for hundreds of millions. But when the captain of Smash GC, the face of the franchise, can just quit, the value of that franchise drops to zero overnight. Who buys a Smash GC jersey now? Who invests in a team that has no identity? Koepka's exit proves that the franchise model in golf was a mirage. Golf is an individual sport. Fans follow players, not logos. The Saudis are learning a very expensive lesson in sports psychology. You can rent a player's time, but you cannot buy their soul. They have spent billions to disrupt the PGA Tour, and while they succeeded in causing chaos, they have failed to build a sustainable product. They are bleeding cash, and their biggest asset just walked out the door. So where does he go? The PGA Tour, but it won't be that simple. There are players on that tour, guys like Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, who turned down the money. They stayed loyal. They fought the battle. And now, here comes Brooks, wallet full of Saudi cash, wanting his locker back. The tension in that locker room will be thick enough to cut with a knife. But here is the cold, hard truth. The PGA Tour needs him. The TV ratings have been soft. The rivalries have been stale. They need the villain. They need the Brooks versus everyone energy. Rory McIlroy has already softened his stance, hinting that he wants the best players back together. There will likely be a fine. There might be a suspension. But make no mistake, Brooks Koepka will be on the PGA Tour in 2026. And when he tees it up, it will be the most watched round of golf in 5 years. He played the game perfectly. He went to the rival league, took their money, exposed their flaws, kept his major eligibility, and is now coming home to a tour that is desperate for his star power. The LIV Golf exodus has officially begun. Brooks Koepka was the first big domino to fall, but he won't be the last. His departure exposes the fundamental lie at the heart of the breakaway league, that money could replace history. It couldn't. For 4 years, we watched a disruption that tore the sport apart. But today, we are watching the market correct itself. Brooks Koepka looked at his bank account, and then he looked at his legacy, and he made a choice. He chose the friction. He chose the pressure. He chose the cut line. And in doing so, he left the Saudi backers holding a very expensive, very empty bag. So I have to ask you, do you respect the move? Is Brooks Koepka a genius for securing the bag and then returning to the real tour? Or is he a traitor who damaged the sport for a paycheck? And what happens to LIV now that the alpha has left the building? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to understand more about the money behind these massive sports deals, make sure you subscribe. We're just getting started.